All right. Pause up, everybody. Welcome to Meowy Hour. I'm your host, Arden Moore. This show is presented each and every Wednesday night, hump day, by the Cat Fancier Association. And with me, as always, are my ginger boy sidekicks. We have right here posing pet safety cat Casey. And somewhere in this backyard office, there he is, high up there, is Rusty, the performer. I also want to give pause and applause to my amazing possum co-host. We're talking all breed CFA judge Kathy Black, and yes, we don't discriminate. Doggy designee Destiny, wakey wakey. and we have a first. We have a legal beagle in the house. This is the first time on Meowy Hour we have an attorney, and we are so excited because he is also on the CFA board as director at large. He loves the Maine Coon. Please, we're going to talk to him more in depth, but give it up for George Eigenhauser. Hey, hi, George.
Hi, everybody.
And we can't do the show without thanking our amazing sponsor. We're talking Kitty Raid, the maker of isotonic drinks to keep our kitties hydrated. We don't discriminate. They make Doggy Raid. And for the kitties and doggies that have finicky appetites and need a little yum yum on their topper, we have Yummy Raid. And we do appreciate their sponsorship. Stick around, guys, because we're going to be giving away some of these drinks later on in the show. But since we have an attorney in the house, I thought I would talk about a criminal. Are you ready for it, George?
Sure.
Okay. You know who the original cat burglars are, George?
No, I don't know where that term comes from.
Cats. Cats. Some cats are into bling, shiny objects. And some cats are so bored at home because they don't have an enriching environment that they start stealing things in the home. They're called klepto kitties. And I bring this picture, thank you, Kathy, for posting it. This little guy, his name is Kylo, Kylo. He made headlines in People magazine, the most recent issue, because this kitty was homeless and he's in Brisbane, Austria. And what he would do is he started stealing things all over the neighborhood, including dragging a teddy bear the size of the cat up and over a 6-foot fence. What do you think of that, George?
Sounds like a normal cat to me.
Well, anyways, they were trying to find this pirate kitty. Who did they belong to? And no one could find the owner. And finally, this neighbor stepped up, and they guesstimated by the veterinarian that this kitty's about 3 years old. She made Kylo an indoor-only kitty. But guess what? He's still a cat burglar. What he's doing now, at night when they all go to sleep, he swipes toys, dusters, even a bath mat, and he takes them from the first floor and he trenches all the way up to the second floor. I guess this kitty's into kitty aerobics and mental games. I guess he doesn't do Wordle, right, George?
I don't do Wordle.
Well, neither does Kylo. But the point is, why are they doing it? So I'm going to put my little behavior consultant hat on. And keep in mind, it's kind of sometimes a kitty that says, I'm kind of bored. Can you give me maybe a food puzzle toy? Maybe a cat tree with things to play with. And some cats can't resist shiny objects. So, Kathy, have you ever had any of your jewelry go missing?
Yes, and I've had cats when judging cats that go after jewelry, you know.
Really?
Yeah, some of them, yes.
Oh, so you finished the judging and you're like, uh-oh, where's my earring?
Well, no, I don't wear earrings that would come out, but no, some cats are really attracted to bling. They really are.
Yeah, and it's their instinct because cats are both prey and predator and they like to hunt. So, you know, they don't get to shop on Amazon. So they take what's available.
Thank
Um,
goodness.
Yeah. But just be aware that little objects, though, I'm going to speak as a pet first aid instructor, be careful, because if they steal your little, any rubber bands or any hair ties or anything like that, there could be a choking issue. So go ahead, George.
Years ago, a friend of mine had a cat. Cat's name was Panda, which was short for pandemonium,
Oh,
which was a better description of the cat.
yeah,
And back then, people actually like sewed things and repaired things.
yeah.
And he was working on something, and he set the needle in the arm of the chair, looked away for half a second,
Oh, no.
and saw a piece of string going down Panda. That was the most expensive needle he ever had.
Oh, my gosh. Exactly. Yeah, because that's going down the throat and into the stomach.
Yep,
And,
yep. They had to surgically remove it.
right. Wow. So the point of this all is this kitty landed in People magazine. It has a happy ending. People got their stuff that he stole, brought back to them, and he landed a forever home. So that was a happy ending. What do you guys think?
Yes.
Yep.
And
All
still
right.
be decorating, so.
Yeah, yeah. So this is actually what the story looked like in People magazine. We're very high tech here, George. Do you like our high tech graphics?
And I have paper here,
Okay. All right.
hard
good.
copy, so I know what I'm supposed to say in case, certain legal subjects come up.
That's good. You did your homework.
I got my
Hey,
notes.
Before we launch into the show too, I want you all to mark down April 9th. It's coming up. It's a week from Saturday. That is going to be the online behavior day conference. It's presented by our friends, the Community Cats podcast, Stacy LeBaron, and it's an all-day event. Go to communitycatspodcast.com for details. Yours truly is going to be giving a talk on mealtime mayhem, because a lot of things happen silently even during mealtime that could cause medical issues or stress-induced behavior problems. So we're going to cover that. But I want to shout out to my other speakers, Pam Johnson-Bennett. We've got Tabitha Kasura, and of course, Dr. Rachel Geller. All of them have been on Meowy Hour, but I just wanted to give you a heads up. I hope you can join us, because it'll be a lot of fun. And we do rip from the headlines from the CFA. Okay, I got my ticker tape ready, Kathy. What would you like to talk about?
Okay, so since we're talking about, looking into pet trust and dealing with maybe end of life planning or disasters or things like that, I just wanted to bring up the CFA Facebook page that has a page that talks about disaster preparedness. So you can go, you can search on CFA for disaster preparedness. You'll find this website, or you can just type in the URL. It's disaster-preparedness. But it talks about the different CFA disaster relief, how we help certain areas that have been impacted. It talks about the different checklists and tips that you should have in place for your pets and for your family and for your home. So just everybody take a few minutes to check that out and read about this and put these plans into place just in case that day ends up happening.
I think that's really good advice, Kathy. Thanks for sharing that, because Mother Nature has an attitude. Don't you agree, George? And she doesn't care anymore where we live.
Actually, I was going to say something about, up until very recent times, people treated animals as property.
Yeah.
They weren't considered part of the family. And I think the federal government was shocked at people's reaction during Hurricane Katrina, when people would refuse to go to the shelters if the shelters wouldn't take their pets.
Yeah.
And
And
so
that's
now,
what they're doing in Ukraine.
right. And even at the federal level now, disaster preparedness now includes pets,
I
because
think
they know they're important to us.
you touched it, because Hurricane Katrina was a watershed moment, I think, because you showed the power of pets, don't you think, George?
Yes.
Yeah. And so we can't escape the hurricanes, the tornadoes, the wildfires, all that other stuff. But I'm real happy that there's some information there on the CFA site, which is great. We're going to give away a couple prizes. if you guys are ready to get some prizes. And then we're going to launch into talking with George, Attorney George, a good guy. I like you. And I'm so happy I finally get to have a conversation with you. So
Before we get off disaster preparedness, I just wanted to mention that several years ago, there's a dam just north of us in
Oh.
Oroville.
uh-huh.
That's one of the tallest dams of its type in the United States.
And he's talking, he's in California, just north of Sacramento. Go ahead.
Correct. And the upper spillway started to disintegrate.
Oh,
And
no.
they evacuated our entire county on
What?
virtually no notice, because it's really flat here. And when a dam breaks, everything can flood.
Right.
Damn it.
And so it was bumper to bumper heading out of here. But we were just fortunate that we have all of our like cat carriers and cat cages organized together in one section of the garage. So we were able to load all the cats up into the car, get them going, get me out on the road while Mary took care of the last, battening down the hatches before we left.
When,
And we were,
when did that happen? How long ago?
3-4 years ago.
Wow. Okay.
And we bugged out in less than an hour.
That's actually pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yes. We're going to talk more into that too. So we have some prizes to give away, but first, Kathy's going to tell us who won last week. And then George, we're going to then give a trivia question. You cannot answer it. You got to play poker face because we don't reveal the answer until next week. Okay. Okay, cool. All right, Kathy, take it away.
All right, so last week.
Actually, this is my poker face.
Last week's winner was Heidi Crabtree.
Good job, Heidi.
Heidi Crabtree was the winner, and I think that's a first-time winner also. So congratulations to Heidi.
So she gets, what does she win?
She won the kitty raid, the doggy raid, and the yummy raid samples from our lovely sponsor.
Rusty approves. George, Rusty, George.
She was randomly chosen from the correct answers, and we had some incorrect answers last week too.
So let me tell you what the answer was to last week's question. We were talking about Ernest Hemingway because he's one of my favorite authors, and of course he found the kitty, and that led to the Hemingway house that has all the nice polydactyl pod cats in Key West. I was asking you, what was the name of the ship captain who gave Ernest Hemingway his first polydactyl cat named Snowball in the 1930s? And the answer, I kind of threw a tricky at you because one of the names, they were all real ship captains in the 1900s. I gave you one choice, which was Edward Smith. No. He was the captain of the Titanic. But the answer was A, Stanley Dexter. So Heidi, congratulations for finding out that answer. Now here in theme with cat burglars, right? Here comes Rusty. He's going to help me with the question. Remember, no, don't say anything, George. So there is a very famous klepto cat burglar who is a snowshoe cat living in California. And this cat has appeared on, you're going to be on my back, baby? This cat has appeared on The Late Show with David Letterman years ago, has been featured on the Animal Planet show called Must Love Cats. So I'm giving you clues. California, snowshoe cat, David Letterman, Must Love Cat, Animal Planet. What is the name of that cat that's very famous? And this kitty has taken a lot of things. This kitty needs to be locked up, George. Prosecuted and locked up. Is the kitty's name A, Abby, B, Bernie, C, Charlie, or D, Dusty? Again, your choices: Abby, Bernie, Charlie, or Dusty. Go ahead and put your answers in now. You have until Sunday. Kathy, take it away and tell us how that all works.
Yes, you can answer on the Facebook feed, but also send me your response to my email. It's in my name, kathy.black@yahoo.com. And I pick a winner depending on how lazy or how busy I am on Sunday. Sometimes Sunday afternoon.
Okay, we appreciate that. So everybody, good luck, because you're going to win some kitty raid, doggy raid, and yummy raid. Yummy. All right. This is kind of an honor to have an attorney on our show. And we always wonder some legal issues affecting our pets. As we get along, we have learned that pets are really a healing power for us. There are our buddies that never rat on us. And during COVID, they sure kept us company, didn't they, George? When everybody
Kind of.
would stay in place. So it's my honor to have on our show today. He has he wears many collars in the world as an attorney. He is first for the CFA. He is a director at large, and he's been part of the CFA scene for many years. You've raised, you have a Maine Coons that you have shown, but you're also involved with the formerly known Win Feline Foundation that's known as now Every Cat. I'm looking at your resume. It would take the whole show to go through it. So my question is, how did you become motivated to be an attorney? And then how did you find out about the CFA and be one of their longtime members of their board?
I grew up on a steady diet of Perry Mason.
Very
And,
nice.
and for those of you not old enough to remember, that was this lawyer played by Raymond Burr who always defended people in murder cases, always found the innocent client, and always found the real killer
Yeah.
at the end of the 1 hour show. And that was kind of my idol, that and Gregory Peck as Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh, yes. Perfect.
So
Well-
that's my image of a lawyer, is somebody that protects the innocent against the system, that helps the downtrodden, that helps the disadvantaged and marginalized. So I have this kind of Robin Hood image of myself. Although in hindsight, it's more Don Quixote actually, but.
Don't say that. No. So where did you go? Where did you get your law degree?
Western State University in California. That's what brought me to California. It was really weird. When I applied to law school in Illinois, the first law school I applied to or wrote to, and I'm not going to name their names, sent me a note back saying my grades were good enough, my LSAT score was good enough. What I had to do was submit a financial statement, because they didn't want the kind of person who might be tempted to work during law school. These are
I'm glad you didn't
professionals.
go to that school.
I did not go to that school because I had to work my way through.
That's right. That's right. Are you the first in your family to be an attorney?
I'm the first in my family to get a college degree of any kind.
Wow. Where did you grow up, George?
I grew up in Northern Illinois, about 45 minutes from Chicago.
Hey, I'm from that area. Where?
Carpentersville.
Okay.
And if you don't know where that is, it's 3 miles north of Elgin.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So you didn't want to be a blues brother growing up, huh?
No,
Okay.
that was later in life.
Oh, okay. All right. So what area of law do you practice?
Right now, I'm semi-retired and I mostly do legislative work for CFA. But prior to that, I did wills, trusts, and probate. I did a lot of plaintiff's personal injury. When I was really young and just out the door and desperate for clients of any kind, I also did criminal law, and for a while I did divorces.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, it really wasn't.
No, but you touched upon an area, two things that we want to launch into right now. First of all, I know COVID's kind of screwed up in-person things, but when you were coming on, you told me about you going up to DC every year, COVID pending. Tell us the role that you serve there that can help pets.
Every year, it used to be the Animal Health Institute. It's now a slightly different group putting it on, but we'd have what's called Pet Night in Capitol Hill.
Okay.
And what we do is these different representatives, from different aspects of the animal industry would put on a little shindig for Congress, their staffers, and government officials. It wasn't specifically a lobbying effort. It was a meet and greet.
Okay.
but it was a way to get your business cards into people's hands and to get people to know you. So it's not directed to a specific piece of legislation, but in the legislative world, people don't know CFA even exists. So the more palms I could get my business card into,
Yeah.
the greater the chance that somewhere down the road, when an animal issue came up, they'd say, don't I know some cat person that knows something about this?
And
And,
I'm going to say, you know, I know Democrats and Republicans can fight like cats and dogs, but I think you have a platform that comes at the heart at some people, no matter what their partisanship is.
oh yeah. I mean, part of the things that we do
You're
at
not
Pet
doing
Night,
wheel axles. You're not being a lobbyist for wheel axles for truckers. I mean, really, cats, dogs, animals.
part of the Pet Night event in recent years has been a cutest cat on Capitol Hill contest,
Oh.
where congressmen and their staffers would enter their own pets.
Really? Oh, come on, come on. So can you remember who won or what kind of kitty won?
I'd have to go to the website to check.
But did they walk the catwalk?
Yep, they walked the catwalk. And in fact, for a while, what we used to do was we'd have celebrity animals.
Oh, really? What do you give me an example? What do you mean?
Oh, like if there was a Garfield movie coming out, there would be, you know, the cat that played Garfield, or, you know, the cat that played Frasier's dog on the show Frasier.
Oh,
You know,
Eddie.
yeah,
His real name was Moose.
yeah. So those kinds of things, they would also be present
And I
at
think
Pet
it's
Night.
I think animals disarm us, don't you think?
I think it's one of the things that brings us all together. I mean, there are people that don't like animals, and there's nothing you can do about that. But I think the overwhelming majority of people love animals, and even people that say they're cat people and say they're dog people. In reality, there's a lot of blended families out there.
Oh yeah. I have cats and dogs at my house, George. Do you have Maine Coons? Is that right?
Right.
And what's your fascination with the Maine Coon? I love them.
It's I started going to cat shows years ago. I had mutts, like most people, you know, rescues and foundlings. And the idea of paying money for a cat was totally alien to me.
Mhm.
But I had a friend that I used to socialize with who bought a Cornish Rex.
Oh, okay.
And so he started going to cat shows, and then I started going to cat shows with him, and my wife, and he and his wife. And when you're benched around a Cornish Rex, little kids will walk by and they'll point and go, "Look, mommy, a weasel." And I remember one time I was sitting in the front row, and a judge was, you know, talking about the Cornish Rex and blah, 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 blah. And
Mhm.
two women in the front row kind of misheard. And one of them turned to the other and said, "Why are they judging Cornish rats at a cat show?" So when I did make the jump from showing household pets to getting a pedigreed cat, I decided I want a cat that if people looked at it would go, "That's a cat."
Yeah.
There's no mistake about it.
Just
That's a
getting
cat.
hair on hair on hair.
So I had narrowed it down to American short hair and Maine Coon.
And what do you like about the Maine Coon?
I got my first one free.
Oh,
That became the deciding point. There was a person who was in the judging program at the time who
yeah.
had a female out of a national winner that he was supposed to breed, but she got PIO and had to be spayed.
Oh,
And he said, you know, he came to me and said, "I've seen you show household pets. You show cats well. If I gave you this cat for free, would you show it?"
that's a deal. That's a
Heck
deal.
of a deal.
And that's why I went that direction rather than the other.
But the Maine Coon itself, what a beauty, don't you think? And
Yeah.
they're generally mellow, right?
They're the golden retrievers of the cat world.
Awesome. Only smarter. No golden retriever people. No hate mail. I love dogs. I love cats. That's kind of cool. So how many Maine Coons do you have now?
You don't ask those questions.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. I have approach the bench, please, Your Honor. Okay. Sorry, didn't know that. But the question is,
If people at the grocery store ask us that, because we got, you know, bags of cat litter, the answer is one really, really big one.
oh,
That's
good
what I would
answer,
always
good
say.
answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
One
All right,
really big one.
But what have Maine Coons done to make you a better man and maybe even a better attorney? That's a tough question. What do you think?
They care about law. I've never really had any deep conversations with them about Supreme Court decisions, but they're just, I think of Maine Coons as being kind of a man's cat, you know, men that maybe feel a little sheepish about being into cats. You look at a Maine Coon, you go, that's a man's cat. I don't feel at all emasculated by being seen hugging a Maine Coon.
Yeah, you don't have a Singapura hanging out with you, right?
No,
They're
Or
tiny,
Cornish
right?
Rex. Yeah.
they're tiny. I think they're the smallest recognized breed.
So your cats typically, how much does a Maine Coon adult weigh?
If they're not fat
Okay.
and they're young and in show shape, because they actually thicken a little as they mature, they'll be in the high teens, maybe low 20s. When people
Wow.
start talking about cats being much bigger than that, they're usually a bit chubby. The biggest cat I ever had was 22, 23 pounds, who was thin at that weight.
Wow.
I mean, just really muscular. And that's one of the things you have to teach your vet. You know, when you take a Maine Coon in to be weighed, you don't just plop it on the scale and go, oh, that's twice what a cat's supposed to weigh.
Exactly. Yeah.
So with Maine Coons, you go by feel.
Mhm.
You know, you run your hand down the back, and if you can feel every single vertebrae going down,
I'm trying to do that on Casey right now. Okay.
yeah, they're probably too thin.
Okay.
If you can't find the bones underneath, they're probably too fat.
Well,
And
Casey
with Maine Coons too, they have a rectangular shape, so you can kind of look at them. And if they look boxy, great. If they bulge in the middle like a snake that swallowed a watermelon, they're probably getting pudgy.
Okay. Well, Casey just wants you to know Arden found his ribs, but Arden can't find her ribs. So I think I have COVID-19 as in pounds added, but that's a whole new story. But let's get into law, because you touched upon the part that, you know, pets have been regarded as property.
Right.
And I'm hoping in my lifetime that changes. What's going on with that kind of thing? What's the different aspects to the pros and cons of being considered property?
Before we go into that, let me go into how we kind of got here.
Okay.
Over the last 150 years,
Okay.
cats and dogs, their role in our families has changed. Somebody once said that what's happened is they've moved from the barnyard to the backyard to the bedroom. And as that has happened, we've developed a different relationship. When they lived in the barnyard, there were only two kinds of animals: those that worked, those you ate. That was it.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, a rancher might have a relationship with their favorite horse, but it wasn't a pet. It was a working animal. And you might have a relationship with, you know, the dog that guards the hen house, or the cat that, you know, keeps the rats out of the barn. But again, it was from a distance. And so as we've become more urban and our animals have moved in closer to us, we stop thinking of them as things and start thinking of them as fur babies or critters or members of the family.
Yeah, they're a he and a she, not an it.
Exactly.
You know, when Casey signs stuff, he doesn't say they or them or it. He says he or him.
That's one of my idiosyncrasies in my writing is the style book says animals are its, but if I know the gender, I use it.
I appreciate that. As a writer of many books and articles, more and more people do not want animals referred to as it. So thank you, George, for that. So keep going. I'm on the historical journey with you. Come on.
Okay. And then one of the big, we mentioned Katrina earlier as being one of the watershed moments. One of the watershed moments people don't realize how important it was cat litter in the late 1940s and early 1950s.
With Mr. Lowe.
Exactly. Prior to that, if you had a cat, you put it out at night. I mean, it was a common cliche. I mean, I on the kids' cartoon, The Flintstones, it always ended with Fred trying to put the cat out for the night and the cat outsmarting him and him getting locked out. But everybody understood you put the cat out for the night because there's no other way to take care of it. Yeah, you could use ashes from the fireplace, but that's really kind of messy. Yeah, you could use shredded newspaper, but it doesn't absorb well. It doesn't work. And then when Lowe discovered, or actually one of his customers discovered, that this dried clay could be used as a cat box filler,
God, that's genius. Wouldn't you wish you invented cats?
It was like you flipped a switch and cats went from being entirely outside to now you have a choice.
That's a good historical marker.
Yeah, and more people are choosing to keep their cats indoors. And that's safer and it's healthier. And it also means we bond more to them because you bond more to a cat that sleeps on your pillow than one that roams the yard at night.
That's true. Yeah, and Casey is my BFF, George, best feline friend. What do you think of that?
Works for me.
Yeah. So what do you think is going to be happening? Because there's some challenges. If somebody unfortunately harms a person's pet and the pet dies, then their property, or you have some famous celebrity cat or something, how do you even put a number on what the financial loss would be? So what's your take on where we're heading with the term their property?
Complicated. Right now, the law is struggling to catch up to reality.
Okay.
People's relationships with their pets is different than the law was written to deal with. You know, we no longer treat a cat the same way we would a toaster or a hammer or a pair of shoes. And so catching up to that has been a struggle. One of the pushbacks has actually been from the judiciary.
Oh, yeah?
And there's an expression you hear people use sometimes when they want to oppose a law, but they can't think of a reason why. And they'll say it would open the floodgates of litigation. And that's been the fear, that if you gave people more rights to protect their animals in court and be able to collect damages for their animals in court, or create pet trusts, for God's sake, that judges would wind up having all of their time taken away dealing with disputes about whether Fluffy's litter box was changed often enough. And so the judiciary considers it above animal issues. And it's kind of a step down. And so when pet trusts first started coming around, 30, 40 years ago, the biggest pushback was from the judiciary. They didn't want to be burdened with dealing with lawsuits involving pets.
That's a good inside. I appreciate your inside perspective on that. I was doing some research about pet trust, and we have a legal beagle in the house, and George Eigenhauser. George, what is a pet trust in simplest terms?
Simplest terms is a trust is when a trustor, the person who created the trust, gives money to a person to manage the trust called the trustee, who then manages that money to take care of another person called the beneficiary. And traditionally, for like the last 950 years, that beneficiary had to be a human being.
Okay.
And a pet trust, essentially, you plug in a pet in place of a human beneficiary. Now, because of that, because a pet can't speak for itself, you generally need a physical caretaker, a human caretaker, to actually take responsibility for taking care of the pet and for being its advocate, to be able to say to the trustee, hey, I need a little more money for, veterinary bills, or I need a little more money for this or that.
Okay.
But that's basically, it's three people. You have the person who creates the trust, the trustor, trustee manages, and then a human beneficiary in a human trust, or a caretaker who takes care of the cat in a pet trust.
So when you're getting, like, I got married a few years ago, we've got a will and things like that. So we also have things in place in case both of us should pass, and what happens to our pets. I'm asking you as an attorney, why is that so important nowadays to have some sort of care plan if our pets should outlive us?
The cat doesn't die. I mean, if there's nobody to take care of the cat, it's got no way of dealing with human law and human legal system. A cat can't go into court and say, hey, I was living the life of Riley. Now I want someone to, pay me family support or whatever. They can't do it. And one of the things people need to be aware of is that because the law is still catching up, it's important that the people who are supposed to care for your pets know about it. I mean, if you die and your will goes to probate, and 2 months from now there's a court appearance, to confirm your executor as the executor of your estate, your pets would have died by then.
Right. So it sounds like you need to alert, like, a pet sitter maybe a boarding staff, whatever who's caring for your pets, people like that, right?
Right. Who to call in an emergency. And you need to make sure that who to call in the emergency includes people who can come in and at least care for your cats until you're better, if it's a lifetime thing, or who can take care of whatever disposition you've made of the pets, after you're gone.
Okay.
But it takes a human being to do it. Even when we create pet trusts, you still need a human being to actually do the work.
Now I'm going to ask you a couple questions, but if any of you have a legal question about cats you want to ask, George, this is a good time, and Kathy will intercede and shout out the question. But I was doing some research because I did an article for a publication for professional pet sitters, George. It's called NAPS, National Association of Professional Pet Sitters. I'm their editor, and it was on pet trust because they found out it took until 2016 for all 50 states, including also the District of Columbia, to finally have pet trust laws on the books.
And let me give you the other end of it. When I graduated from law school in 1979, there were 0 states.
Wow. Well, then that's quite a big
Yes.
change.
Yes.
Wow. So the Pet Trust, there's another organization I want you all to check out. The organization is, it's run by a good friend of mine, Amy Shiver. It is called Second Chance for Pets. And it's the 2 N, like second with the 2, chance, the number 4, pets. And George, are you familiar with them? Because they're helping people. What happens if my pet outlives me? And they are helping people come up with a game plan to care for the pets. Did you know about that group?
I don't know that organization
But it's a
specifically,
nonprofit.
but you definitely should be making plans for what's going to happen to your pets when you die. And it may be different things. If you're still actively breeding and there's a litter of kittens on the ground that you would have placed, you're probably going to let your pet caretaker place those kittens as well. But if you've got this favorite pet that you've kept forever that you just couldn't place, and
yeah,
that cat's going to have a forever home somewhere. And that's what pet trusts are really designed for. And it can be a human being, it can be an organization. Some shelters set up arrangements like that. I'm not a big fan of government or corporations, so I tend to lead toward having somebody I know do it. But there are certainly groups out there that can help you make those arrangements.
And George, I had a question.
Go ahead.
Sure.
So in your pet trust, do you set aside who is in charge of the animals and money to pay for them to take care of them until this all gets sorted out in the courts?
Oh, until the pet dies.
So tell us a little bit about that, because it's one thing to name somebody and somebody else as a backup, but it's another thing. You better have some money because pets aren't free.
Yeah, first of all, I like splitting up people. Separation of powers, checks and balances. Okay. So I like having the trustee, the person in charge of the pet's money, and the actual caretaker be 2 different people.
Good point.
Because otherwise the cat can't speak for itself if its litter box isn't getting changed or it's not getting proper, veterinary care. So having 2 people, they watch over each other. So I really like to do that. And one of you mentioned just recently that you need backups, and that's something that you really have to think about. Most of us have friends our own age.
Yeah.
And if I have a cat that's going to live another 15 years, I'm not sure I'm going to live another 15 years. And I'm not sure people my own age are going to live another 15 years. So, think in terms of a backup to the backup to the backup. The deeper the bench you have, the better the chance of somebody you wanted to be in charge, being able to take care of your pet. And when you decide how much money to put aside, it's going to depend on a couple of things. Obviously, how many cats are we talking about?
1 million. No, just
are we talking about all the cats in your cattery, or just one cat that you just really don't want placed, that you want, in a home that the person and you trust? So it's different if it's 1 cat or 10. It's going to depend on the age and the health of the cats. And even if your cats are healthy today, eventually they won't be. So you need to budget for the idea that, today you know, we're getting by with $200 a month for litter and food, and, you know, a few $100s a year for wellness checks. But in 5 or 6 or 10 years,
Yeah.
you may be running into some real medical expenses. So you need to have enough money to cover the lifetime of the cat. And
Good point.
I know, I appreciate that.
it's easier to err by going over than under.
Yes.
And so what typically you will do is you will have a residuary beneficiary that says that anything that is not consumed in caring for the cats during their lifetimes goes then to cousin Joe or Aunt Jane or whatever.
Yeah.
My
Don't tell them, because we don't want them hurting the cat.
and that's my other suggestion, is that you don't, a lot of people want to make it the cat caretaker as a bonus or something, but that creates a conflict of interest. You know, if I have a choice of whether to put Kitty down today and save $10,000 in vet bills, and then I get that $10,000.
Ooh, that's tricky. What do you suggest for people so we don't get into that icky area?
I would like to suggest every cat.
Yeah.
If you make your residuary beneficiary a charity rather than a relative or one of the people involved in the pet trust, you don't have any conflict of interest.
This is interesting. Kathy, do you have any more questions, or anybody got questions on this? Because it's something we all need to get our big girl and big boy pants on and do it, right?
Well, let me just follow up on that question with one more thing.
Okay.
You want to put enough in there, but you don't want to go way overboard.
Okay.
Because otherwise your greedy relatives are going to say, why does Fluffy get $100,000 and I only get 500?
But that's been in the headlines. Come on, George, you've seen those situations.
Yeah, and most wills, most trusts will have what we call a no contest clause.
Okay.
It says you may be unhappy with your $500, but if you try to challenge this, you get nothing.
Ooh, I like that. Ooh,
but it's a balance. If you give your relatives a ridiculously tiny amount and your cat a huge amount, it may be worth the lottery ticket to try to challenge it. But if you're giving them a decent amount and you're giving your pet a decent amount and you're telling them if you're not happy, you're going to get nothing, maybe they'll just sit on it and let it happen. So I can't prevent will contests, but you can do things to deter them.
I like this.
The only thing I was going to add was that you need to have all your paperwork together too, so that they know, especially if you breed like I do, Chartreux, they're all one color.
Yeah.
Right.
So you have Bombay or Burmese or whatever. We had this discussion recently with the Chartreux International Cat Club, and Carla Bazell put this together, but you just need to put a binder, something, don't save it in the cloud. That's not easy for someone to get access to. Actually have a physical binder, put everything in there, the cat's registration papers, their pet license, their rabies vaccinations, their pedigree, their microchip number, have all that stuff for every one of your cats. And if you need to evacuate, you grab this and take it with you with all your cats. But if you pass away, then and there's no one there at the house that knows this information, you know, that this blue cat is named this and this other blue cat is named that, then, you know, you've got everybody microchipped, you've got everything together. And we've had a lot of breeders pass away and their cats had to all be placed out because nobody knew which cat was which. So get your paperwork, everything all together, have this all prepared. It's easier for you when you're looking up something, but it also will be much easier if something happens to you and someone needs to come in behind you. If you may have 3 red and white Persians, okay?
Oh.
So yeah, so just get that information all together.
That's great advice. So,
and having done estate planning for 40 years, I can tell you that when you try to get people to put those things together, it's always manana.
Yes.
We don't want manana, George.
It's always that diet I'm going to start tomorrow. And this is one of those areas where you really can't, because nobody knows. I mean, you can get hit by a truck tomorrow. And it's easy for you to put that stuff together. It's nearly impossible for people that don't know anything about what's going on. So you really need to do it. You really need to do it now. And then you really need to review it at least once a year to make sure all of that information is current, because it does no good if you have a wonderful binder of all the cats you had 10 years ago.
No, this is all great information. We only got about 15 minutes left, and we've got to do we're going to be doing a breed profile and the cocktail, but I want you to stick around, George, because maybe somebody might have a quick question at the end. We'll have you field. Would that be all right?
I'm not going anywhere.
I like it. All right. I'm going to go off screen to get ready to make our beer Rita. But first, Kathy, our all breed CFA judge, is going to talk about the Chartreux. Take it away, Kathy.
Okay, so just a reminder, we are featuring a breed a week, and we're doing it in coordination with CFA. And CFA's breed of the week this week is the Chartreux, just a breed I happen to know a little bit about. Okay, so the Chartreux is a natural historic breed of France, known for centuries for its unique coat color and unique coat texture. And starts appearing in literature around the 16th century. They were imported to North America in 1970 through John and Helen Gammon, and the original imports came from the French countryside. And the Chartreux is what we call a contrast, study in contrast. It's a robust but elegant breed. It has a broad head, softly tapering down to this narrow muzzle, relatively high set ears. The nose is straight, and the most important part of the breed and what people notice are the eyes. They're not round, but they are rounded, and they kind of set on an angle going up to the bottom of the ear. So it kind of sits at a little bit of an angle there. And they're gold to copper, but most of us are looking for orange in our breeding programs. So I have some pictures. Of course, they only come in one color. And I like this picture. This is Maggie. She's a cat I currently have. This is Libby. This is her daughter. So this is mother and daughter in this picture. This is Maggie's kitten picture, and Libby was about 2 or 3 years old in this picture. So a little more mature. But we talk about the cats having relatively fine bones for their size of their body. So some go as far as saying toothpicks for legs. That's not quite what we're looking for. But they have these tight oval little paws and these relatively fine boned legs and a very water repellent coat that in maturity starts breaking. You start to see these where the hair starts separating around the neck. You can see it here even on this young picture. Here's a couple more cats. This is a young female. These are both females. In fact, you can really see the breadth across the chest and the relatively fine boned legs. Here's a couple more girls. Beautiful eyes. Love the rich orange eyes on these girls. And the Chartreux standard calls for any shade of gray. We call it blue. So as dark as gunmetal all the way up to a really nice bright silvery gray. All of those are acceptable in our standard. As breeders, we tend to go for the lighter as our favorite. And I wanted to show this picture because it is a slow maturing breed. This is Gunner. He's a male that I produced. This is Gunner when he was about 5 months old. And here he was when he was about 2 or 3 years old. And then here he is. He loves to lay on his back and be silly. Here he is once he was neutered and placed in a pet home. You can really see how they develop those cheeks, and the face gets more full, the body gets more full. The coloration on this picture is a little funky. But Gunner was one of my favorite boys. And in fact, this is Gunner as a little kitten in this picture. And here's some more kittens. This was off the CFA website. This was a litter of 3 boys that I had. Gordo, Gunner, and Gatsby. And just as a side note, we named the cats based on the alphabet letter for that year. We used 20 letters of the alphabet. So these boys were all born in the G year. That's why they're Gordo, Gunner, and Gatsby. Actually, Gunner's real name was Genetic Roulette. So, but anyway, they started with a G. And I think this year they're in the T's, or maybe, I can't remember, but we used 20 letters of the alphabet. So that's something that's kind of fun and interesting with the Chartreux breed.
Nice job. Pause and applause, Kathy. I know you know a lot about the breeds of all, George, but what do you think of that particular one? I know you're a Maine Coon man, but what do you think?
It took me a long time when I first started showing CFA to be able to tell some of the breeds apart. And Chartreux was one of the ones I had trouble with. And Japanese bobtail when they're looking at you. But I think I can tell them apart now, even as an old household pet person.
That's good. That's good. Hey, I love the fact that the Cat Fancier Association is a champion for all cats. So not only purebreds, but also mutt cats like Casey and Rusty. So can you talk a little bit about the companion cat world, Kathy? Because I think
Sure, I
it's
don't have my card with me. It's in the other room. I'm in a different room today because of the internet.
Here we go. I got your back.
Thank you. So CCW is Companion Cat World, and it's CFA's way to recognize the non-pedigreed cats. So it gives your cat a legacy and a history with CFA. And for a one-time fee of $13, your cat is registered with CFA. When you upload a picture, your cat's picture goes up on our gallery online. You also get this beautiful hard card with your name and your cat's name information. You can get luggage tags, which are perfect to go on your crate, especially if you're evacuating or you leave it at the vet. They know what cat belongs in there because your cat's picture's on there. And
I like that a lot.
10% goes to a local shelter. So check it out at cfa.org/CCW.
Thank you, Kathy. And George, I'm like you. I wear a lot of collars in the pet world. You wear a lot of collars in the legal world. One of the things I really enjoy doing is being a master instructor in pet first aid. And this guy right here, Casey, and my dog Kona, they're both certified therapy pets. They help me teach pet first aid. We now have young Rusty, the performer, who is also in cat only first aid classes. We taught a class last night on Zoom, everyone, and one of our students was a guest, Dr. Rachel Geller. So we had a behaviorist in the house learning how to do chest compressions and do the kitty Heimlich. What do you think of that, George?
I think it's important that people have the ability to at least do basic things with their cat. I mean, no one's expecting you to do a heart transplant.
No.
But you at least be able to, stop bleeding, deal with certain emergencies like poisoning, electrical shock, other things to get the cat at least stable enough to get him to the vet.
And we also help you do it safely so you don't become shredded. That's the key, because kitties, as you know, have flexible spines and 5 weapons of mass destruction coming at you. So you all, I've seen some of you that have watched Meowy Hour. I really appreciate it because some of you have signed up for the classes. They're veterinary approved. You get some bad jokes from me, and you've got the only class, I'm going to say arguably, that features 2 real cats, not a stuffed animal only. And George, we have reached people, thanks to Zoom, in Egypt, Germany, and South Africa have taken our class.
That's the blessing of things like Zoom, is that it's moved us more online. So we don't always have to do just local events. We can learn from anywhere on the planet.
That's right. And, some kitties aren't real big travel fans. So it's been nice because kitties can be in their own homes with their people, and we do a towel wrap and the kitty's like, so we're able to give them a little bit of confidence to the human, and the cat, gets extra treats that night. So I think it's a win-win. What do you think?
I agree.
So we do have some dates for you to remember. Our next cat only first aid class on Zoom is going to be May 12th. It is from 5 to 8 p.m. Central Time. If you have a doggy and a kitty, we have a class coming up April 16th. Please just go to that Pet First Aid for You. I hope to see you there. It's something I really enjoy teaching. And so that's my pitch, and I'm sticking with it. All right. I'm thirsty. Are you thirsty, George?
I'm very thirsty.
Okay. Are you thirsty, Kathy?
Sure.
All right. I love creating the kitty cocktails each and every Meowy hour. And we want to do a special salute to All Breeds CFA judge and editor of Cat Talk, Teresa Kiger, because she helps out by creating the graphics for the recipes that I've created. And take a look at this one, George. I have created the Bengal cat burrito. What do you think? Made you laugh. Come on. That's a good one, right? So in this,
gotta get my reading glasses on.
okay, well, I'm getting my taste buds ready. It's really kind of a creative blend of beer and margaritas that's sure to make you purr. A lot of people like margaritas, but there's getting to be a trend where you're doing the tequila, the Cointreau, the lime with your favorite light beer. Did you all know that? So it's kind of, we're being trendy.
They're advertising all these different Ritas, different beer Ritas on TV, so I guess so.
Yeah. So while the show's been going on, you can kind of see I've been frosting my mug in the freezer. You take a cocktail shaker, you put some ice in it, and then you're going to add in there 1 shot of tequila. Now, I'm doing good tequila. I'm doing blue agave silver tequila because I don't want a headache. So you do a shot of that. You put it in the cocktail shaker.
Yeah,
I also,
there's a song that makes your clothes fall off.
that's a whole nother show. You also want to do a 1/2 ounce of the Cointreau. Cointreau is an orange liqueur. You can also use triple sec if you like. You want to squeeze in some lime juice and give it a good shake. The kitties are not interested. There's no whipped cream. Marianne, no whipped cream for the kitties tonight. She always checks the recipes. And we give it a nice good shake. What do you think, Casey? He goes, yo soy un gato. He's speaking Spanish already. I don't know what's going on. Casey, you're pretty smart. So what you do then is you're going to take your favorite light beer. So of course, I'm going to do a Corona. Do you like beer at all, George?
Yeah, I do, but
You're more darker.
I'm more of a margarita person.
Okay, all right. So obviously tip the stein so you don't have a lot of foam in this. You want to put your favorite beer in there. And you want to add a little punch to it by straining your little concoction. And you can rim the glass with a little salt if you like. I like to do mine with a little lime, and I'm dropping a little lime in there. So whether you have the Bengal cat burrito, maybe a glass of water like our friend Attorney George, or what do you got tonight? Sprite?
Sprite 0.
All right. Please, everyone, everywhere, let us raise a glass and let us toast to all cats because they make us better people. Cheers. Cheers, kitty.
Casey's like, where's the whipped cream?
Casey, sorry, no whipped cream tonight. He goes, this doesn't smell like something I would want. Hey, everybody. We just have a couple more minutes. George, do you have any parting comment you want to say to people? I really appreciate you talking about pet trust.
Yes, I do. And when it comes to estate planning or disaster planning, when we talked about that earlier, the time to do it is now. We always think there'll be time to do it later, and we'll always be right until we aren't. And these things tend to sneak up on you. So do it now, do it regularly. Don't put it off, because if you put it off, you're never going to do it.
Do it now.
Do it me now. Casey says, do it me now.
Yes.
Me now. Right, Casey? Hey, I really appreciate you being on the show, George. You really helped us out. We had a whole new area that we haven't covered yet on Meowy Hour. I want to thank the Cat Fancier Association, of course, for coming up with a Meowy Hour. And I also definitely want to thank our amazing sponsor, the makers of, Casey, Kitty Raid, because kitties need to be hydrated. They're not big water drinkers, and you don't want their kidneys to get bombarded. So we really love and appreciate their support. They make Doggy Raid and Yummy Raid. Check them out. As you know, we give prizes every week. I also want to thank you, George, for being here. I really appreciate you being on our show.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
And I love Kathy. Kathy rocks. And so does Destiny, who turned 2 yesterday.
Tomorrow.
Everybody, happy birthday to Destiny.
I'm
That's
2
pretty cool.
tomorrow.
Well, Casey's going to be 8 Friday, which is, of course, April Fool's Day.
Yes.
That says a lot about my cat. So next week, we got a great person coming. His name is Paul Bates. He is at the Peggy Adams Rescue League in West Palm Beach, Florida. He runs this amazing, he's in charge of all the cat care at the shelter and works out in Palm Beach County with the community cat groups. He's a very nice man. I love him very much. So he's going to be our guest next week. So everyone, until next time, it's same cat channel, same cat time. We'll see you on Meowy Hour. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.